Hey everybody, just wanted to jump back on. I took a couple of like a day or so off. People going, You were burned out?" No, I stopped before I get burned out. I'll explain what I'm talking about. See, I'm after 50 or so plus years on the planet. I know, and I figured it out a long time ago, what I feel like when I get burned out. When I get burned out on something, sometimes I won't go back to it, or I don't go back to it for a long period of time. And the trick is to find out and notice what it feels like when you're about to become burned out or when you're starting to burn out. Because once you get burned out on something, people are creatures of habit. Once you get into the habit of not doing that thing, it's hard to go back to that thing. I haven't done stand up comedy regularly since 2010. And what year is this now? And why did I stop doing stand up comedy? I was good at it, but I got burned out. And it was very, very difficult to go back to it because I had started doing podcasts and now I'm doing YouTube videos and other things online. And I enjoy them just as much as I loved doing stand up comedy. But I got burned out on it. And I did it since 1980, between 1986 and 2010. I was a stand-up comedian, right? But I got burned out. I allowed myself to get burned out, and I haven't been back. I'm going to go back, but I haven't been back yet. And I didn't want that to happen to this. I learned a while ago what happens to you when you get burned out. I had to say to myself, what does it feel like when you're starting to burn out? And I know the cues and the clues. It's the same thing with food poisoning. I've had food poisoning a few times, and it was always the same thing happening to me when the food poisoning was coming. The first time, I didn't know what it was. All I know was I felt the worst I'd ever felt in my life. All I know was I was sitting in the bathroom, and all I know was every opening in my body decided that it wanted to resemble a fire hose. All of that crap. But I remembered in the beginning of the food poisoning, there was a really distinct tingle in my stomach that I had never felt before. And then this thing happened, and then this thing happened. And I was like, oh, so I have to make a mental note. But when those things happen, the food poisoning is coming. Yeah, because that's how you do. You got to watch yourself. You got to see what works. That time I got food poisoning, and at the time I was driving a lot of people around. I was the point person for a lot of people getting from point A to point B. So when I went down for a few days, a whole bunch of people got messed up. They weren't mad at me, but because they saw what the situation was, it wasn't like I was faking the food poisoning, but it messed up a whole lot of people's situations. The next time, a few years later, when I felt that tingling in my stomach again, oh no, you don't. I knew it was coming. I knew that within about 7 or 8 hours, I was going to be weak. I knew I was going to be dehydrated. I knew I was going to feel like crap. I knew I was going to be exhausted. I knew I was going to feel like I was about to meet some of my great great grandparent personally. So I picked up the phone and made some phone calls, and everybody else was able to adjust. I hope you feel better. So you sure that's what it is? Yeah, I'm sure. Right? And that's what it was. And I knew it was going to happen. And everybody was able to make alternate plans or at least delay things because I wasn't available, because I was prepared for it. And the next time I got food poisoning, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I was prepared for it. I even remembered exactly how long it was going to take. Okay, this amount of time in 24 hours, I'm going to be out of commission for 24 hours. And then right after that, I'm going to be at 50%. And the day after that, I'm going to be at 75%. And by the end of the week, I'm going to be back up to 100% and everything will be cool. I knew. I also knew that I was extremely tired when I was suffering from food poisoning. So I know, well, if I know I'm going to be horrible, it's going to be horrible for 24 hours is the worst of it. If I sleep for 8 hours, and then when I wake back up, I'll take in some liquids, go to the bathroom, and I'll sleep for another 8 hours. That's 16 of it right there. So the actual suffering portion of it was only 8 hours as opposed to 20. And in fact, I was able to take short naps in the middle of that time period. So I basically took the time where I felt horrible down to about 3 hours instead of 20 hours because I was prepared. I knew it was coming. And it's the same thing with burnout. I know what happens when I get burned out. I know what happens when other people get burned out. I've seen it. I've seen other people get so burned out that they stayed away from things, including their relationships. When you get burned out in a relationship, you got to go and you got to talk to each other. You can't go talking to just your friends. You got to talk to the person. I've seen relationships where one relationship was very similar to the other relationship. These people talked. These people didn't. The people that talked to each other, bang. After a while, maybe some counseling, maybe just discussing the lack of the mix-ups in communication, they were back to normal. The people that didn't talk and let it go and go and go till they burned out on each other never got back together. You got to check the signs. You got to see what's going on. So when it came to this particular thing, yes, I was starting to get a little burned out, but I know myself well enough to know, just like with food poisoning, when you get that tingle in the stomach, I got my metaphorical tingle in my stomach about this. And I'm like, no, 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 you're not going to let yourself get burned out. No, 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 that's not going to happen. Nope, nope, nope. So what did I do? I took a day off. That's all it took was about 24, 36 hours. And I was relaxed and I was back to being me. And I didn't take a month off, which could have turned into 3 months, which could have turned into 6 months, which could have turned into whatever my last video was being my last video ever. I didn't want that to happen because I like doing this. So for those of you that ask, when I talked about burnout, I was talking about the burnout that was on its way. It had been ordered. It had been ordered from a retail company that sells burnouts. But I decided to pick up my phone and cancel the order. And I got my refund, which is my inspiration, which is my energy, which is the ideas that I had before are all back. So what I would say to you is don't let yourself get burned out. If you know what's coming, pay close attention to yourself. Remember the last time you got burned out or bummed out or whatever it was that made you stop doing something that you wanted to do? What were the signs that were leading to that? Do you see those signs now? Do you see yourself looking at going to do that thing and going, when it used to be, yay, and now that again. Right? That's when you need to take a little bit of a break. In my case, it usually only takes a day or two. Right? You may need a week. You may need a month. You may need to back up off it for 6 months. But if it's something that you want to do, make sure that it's your decision with a clear mind to stop doing it. Don't let the momentum of bad feelings and being bummed out make the decision for you. You got to grab the steering wheel and drive the car yourself. You wouldn't get on the freeway or the car going at 70 miles an hour and going, let me get in the back seat and take a nap. See where this goes. No, you wouldn't. You can't do that with your life either. You got to put your hands on the steering wheel. And if you're like me, sometimes you put one hand on the steering wheel. Turn the music on. Put one hand out the window. Yeah. Unless there's some police officers watching, in which case I have my hands at 10 and 2 at all times. I like to entertain y'all and sometimes inform y'all and sometimes inspire y'all, but I don't need any damn tickets. I got a clean record when driving and everything else, and I like to keep it that way. Don't blame me. Don't hate on me. Back to the story. So like I said, make sure you watch for the signs, my friend. Don't let it get you down. And in addition to not letting it get you down, this guy is back, baby. You're damn right. See you later.